Let me breathe real quick. You forget to breathe, I forget to breathe. Okay, hello friends and welcome. I made my matcha in my funky little cup. It turned out perfect. The lesson for me recently has been slowing down. So we are actively practicing slowing down, which leads us to the topic of today's video, which is our fall TBR. Summer was busy, it was crazy, now it's time to rest. So we're gonna talk about what books we want to read this fall. I have 7 books that I've pulled aside to read this season, along with 3 audiobooks, which is kind of new for me. The theme is very much coziness, but we want some movement, some action. I feel like this is the perfect time of year for gloomy fantasy. Think of Chronicles of Narnia Prince Caspian, like the first scene where they're all like gloomy and dark. I feel like this is the perfect time of year for that kind of vibe. So there's some in here that definitely have that kind of energy to me. Again, I haven't read them, I don't necessarily know. But there's a couple in here that are definitely more gloomy fantasy, some more whimsical, cozy fantasy, and then towards the back end of the list we have more like spooky books. So I'm excited. To be so honest, I'm gonna power through as many of these books in the month of October as possible, which is a lot because there's 10 of them. But I plan to not go outside very much this month. I want to be cozy. I want to stay inside. I want to read. So let's start with our cozier books. The first one that I will be reading, I chose it for these beautiful sprayed edges. I saw it on the shelf. The art was super cozy and I could not pick it up. It's called The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. The art is just beautiful. And the sprayed edges, this is my favorite thing, the sprayed edges. That's just so good. This book is about a girl who starts up a magic spell shop in a place where it's illegal to do so. So it's a secret operation. And then this man comes to town. Seems like we'll have like a little romance subplot. I'm excited to just cozy up with this little spell shop. The art is just the cutest. There's a little kitty with wings on there. I think it's gonna be the ease into fall that I really am looking for. Moving on, our next book is Dreadful by Caitlin Rozakis. This was also a choice because of the sprayed edges, but also because of the premise. Basically, this guy wakes up with no memory of what's going on, why he is where he is, why there's a girl locked in his basement. Absolutely nothing. And it just seems super cozy and whimsical and fun. The art is super beautiful. I did start this one just the tiniest bit. I have been in like a weird sort of slump where I've gotten 10 pages into a lot of books and not continued them. That's gonna change because we have goals and we are going to meet our goals. It also, okay, hear me out. It smells like Scholastic Book Fair. And the girlies that get it will get it, but it smells like Scholastic Book Fair, and that just makes it all the more special and may have had something to do with my purchase of this book. The next book is Dragonfall by L.R. Lamb. This was Barnes & Noble's pick of the month for September, and I picked it up with a friend of mine, and we're gonna read it together, and we both agree that so far the premise is really interesting, but it's just not pulling at us like we want it to. It's set up in alternate perspectives. You're looking back in the timeline, but it's just not pulling me in the way I want it to. I don't care enough about the characters and what's going on to want to dig in and learn more yet. It's a little more dark, gloomy, Caspian-esque than the other two for certain, but I think it'll be a good fall book. The next book, The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England by Brandon Sanderson. This book is massive for a paperback. This is like hardback size. This also deals with amnesia. This wizard wakes up, no idea how he got there, no idea what he's doing, but he's being chased by a group from his own time, wherever that is. So he has to figure out what he's doing before he gets caught, and his only hope was his copy of The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England, but his exploded in transit. It seems whimsical and fun. It's Sanderson, so you know there's gonna be a lot to digest. I have only read about, I think it's like just over half of Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, which was part of a group of 4 books that he wrote for I believe it was like a Kickstarter project, and I've read part of that It doesn't pull me the way I want it to, but it's whimsical, it's sweet. If I have extra time, I'll read it. I don't know if it's in the same universe / Cosmere or whatever. I have no idea, but it sounds like a good book to cozy up with when it's just cold enough outside. It just sounds like that perfect little transport you whimsical book. Our next book is going to be controversial. Some people are not going to like me for what I'm about to say, but understand that I'm giving it a second chance. Our next book is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I bought this book when it was really popular. I got this special edition from Barnes & Noble. Everywhere you look, very beautiful. I read that much of it, so over half, 243 pages in, and I was having a really hard time. If you don't know, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is about Addie LaRue, who makes a deal and then is dealing with the consequences for the rest of her life. That's a really simplified version of things. I felt like she was complaining the whole time, which is totally fair. She made this terrible deal and is cursed to be forgotten by everyone she meets. That's a pretty sad existence, but I don't want to read that for 350 pages. I have sisters that just adore this book. She was like, you just have to read it all the way through and then you'll understand and then you'll love it. And I just couldn't bring myself to. A lot of these books have London fog energy. This book takes place in France, but it's still, you have the forest and the fog and the night, just lots of fall energy coming from this one. I'm hoping that that will be enough to pull me through. I want to like it. A lot of people that I know really adore this book, so I really I want to like it too, but I just couldn't the first time. So we'll see how it goes. I'm a little nervous. Watch for the reading wrap up, then we'll know how I feel about this one. Moving into our more spooky books. We have 3 from Lucy Foley and 1 from Riley Sager. I have never really done like thriller type books, and they scare me a little bit because I've always been concerned because I don't do horror well. There are certain books that I just won't read because I know they have themes that I would not like, but I love suspense. So I feel like there are some books that would be okay. I'm learning that that is the case, but I had to take a leap and not be afraid to do that. The only physical book I have of these 4 books is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. Every time I walked into the Barnes & Noble, I would see the cover and it's just so eye-catching. Just caught my eye every single time. This book is about this family murder that happens at the estate of Hope's End, and only one survives. Lenora Hope, the survivor, is found not guilty because the police couldn't place her at the crime, and she's never spoken about it other than to deny her guilt in these murders. Years and years later, she's an old lady. She needs a caretaker. The other caretakers keep fleeing in the middle of the night. And so this girl takes a job to be Lenora's caretaker. Lenora is wheelchair bound. She's been rendered mute by a series of strokes. So the only way that they can communicate is via typewriter. This new caretaker takes this job, and Lenora one day goes, I trust you. I want to tell you everything about what happened that night. Mind you, she's in her 60s or 70s. And as she tells what happened that night, the caretaker starts to doubt that Lenora is as harmless and helpless as maybe she seems. And it just seems spooky. And that sounds like something I might be into, but I don't know. So we're gonna try it. We're gonna see how it goes. The next 3 titles I only have on audiobook through my library, and they are all by Lucy Foley. The first is The Paris Apartment. It's about this woman, Jess, who for some reason is running from her home in the UK, and she has a half-brother who has a residence in Paris. So she decides to go to his residence, and she got a message from him. He's like, I'll stay up for you, just let me know when you're here, I'll open the door for you, etc., etc. Well, she gets there and he's entirely gone, entirely missing, and she starts to poke around, ask the neighbors, and they're all being really weird and really cagey, and she's finding these little details that are just really off-putting, and she's trying to figure out where her brother went, and it's the story of that unfolding. I have listened through this one. I had a big drive that I finished it up on. I'll talk about it more in my reading wrap-up, but it was incredible. Really, really loved. Don't know what I'm going to rate it yet, but it was just an incredible book. I was making faces, super shocked, just incredible. Really, really enjoyed. This was my first dip into the more thriller side of things, and it was just fantastic. Really liked it, and because of that, I'm really looking forward to her 2 other books. And because they're audiobooks, they're really easy for me to get through. Keep a lookout for my reading wrap-up. I'll talk more about how I felt about it there. The second book by Lucy Foley is The Hunting Party. I'm in the middle of this audiobook right now. Okay, The Hunting Party is about this group of reunited friends that became friends in college, and they are going on this this trip for New Year's like they always do. This time, the newer girl, who's dating one of the college group, plans this trip to this remote, beautiful cabin in Scotland. The weather is just horrific. It's snowing in buckets. One of them goes missing. And because it's snowing so badly, nobody can get out, nobody can get in, they can't get help from the outside. If foul play was involved, whoever did it, like, is in the walls of the cabin. Who done it? High stakes. Is someone else gonna be next? We don't know. I think it might be better as like a winter read because it's so snowy, but it's good nonetheless for the spooky vibes. The third book is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. I don't remember actually. Let me check. It's either about a wedding or a party. I'm pulling up Wikipedia right now. Not a party, but a wedding of this magazine editor and a TV host on an Irish, I think it's Irish? Yeah, an island off the coast of Ireland. There's a big storm that comes in, the lights go out, and then the lights come back on. A waitress finds a dead body. Murder mysteries. This one also has multiple perspectives, just like the other two books. Also moves backwards and forwards in time. I think it will keep me moving through these other books because I don't have anything else like that in this stack of books except for this one. That is my fall TBR. I'm super excited to dive into these books. Really excited to review them and talk about them. Tell me in the comments what books you're gonna read this fall, if you lean on more of the whimsical side of things or the spooky dark side of fall, and if you have any good recommendations for like the spooky thrillers but not horror, please leave a comment because I'm really enjoying that genre so far, but I am so scared that it's gonna cross into like the horror side of things, and I just don't do that well. So if you have any good recommendations, please leave them for me. If there's any cozy books that I just must read, please let me know. I am so excited to talk to you guys about these books. I hope you guys have just the most amazing cozy fall. I hope you love all the books that you read. I hope you find a good 5-star here or there. Take care of yourselves. There's gonna be like 4 minutes of footage in here. They're just like, no. And that's okay. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you all in the next one.